Well, good evening, guys. Sorry I don't have a good time lapse for you, but we'll settle for this nice sunset shot just a few minutes ago. Looking out to the west there, a little bit of cirrus. And it's very mild out there. It's probably about 70 out there, and we got Venus out there too. If you look down to the, I think it's to the southwest, maybe about 20 degrees above the horizon. Can't miss it. And there's a little bit of that cirrus up there. That's an ice crystal cloud. So it's pretty much like snowflakes. And maybe we'll check out a little bit of that on the soundings. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to click on the Fort Worth page, and we can see it right there. There's a little bit of, hang on, got to get my drawing tool back up and running. But if you look at the top of that sounding up there at about 300 millibars, you can see that layer here of humid air. And by humid, I mean the difference between the temperature and dew point is they're very close together. Whereas down below it, very dry. So very dry air below that. So the bases on this are at about, that's going to be about 29,000 feet. So using your soundings, you can actually get the cloud bases on these things. And when I used to do weather observing, I used to put out METARs and stuff like that. That's one way I would get that information, by looking at soundings. But in the lower parts of the sounding, as I said, very dry. And at the surface, I can see a little bit of a radiation inversion right there. And this tells me that as soon as we get a little bit of sunrise, the temperature is going to warm up from 13 Celsius. I'm reading 13 up here, which is about 55 Fahrenheit. It's going to warm up quickly to this value here. That's going to be about 22 Celsius, or about 70 to 72. And then after that, we'll get a very gradual warm up to our afternoon highs. So that's another way you can use the soundings to get your forecast temperature trends during the day. And I'll probably show you this on one of these webcasts, but you can actually measure out the area between the temperature line and dry adiabat in the ground. You take that geometric area, and the amount of, you can kind of correlate that geometric area to your maximum temperatures. You kind of like figure out what kind of area you're looking for that time of year in terms of like how large that swath is, and then you take that and read off your temperature at the bottom. But like I said, that's probably for another day. Thermodynamics will probably throw a lot of viewers, so that will probably be for a special feature. Anyway, the only weather going on right now in the U.S. is this barotropic low over the Great Lakes, continuing to spin. We saw that yesterday, and now it's over Wisconsin. And if we zoom in on that, you can see the very unstable cloud forms. There's a lot of towering cumulus there in Wisconsin. Let me try the other satellite real quick. Yeah, you can see that right there really well. I'll zoom in on one tower. It's probably pretty spectacular if you're there taking pictures and getting a look through the through a clear spot at these towers. But those are there because we have a lot of cold temperatures aloft. And maybe I can show that to you very quickly. Let me go to my links page here, and I will go to the Difax products. Albany University, they maintain a page with all these old Weather Service links. And we can get the official upper air charts from NOAA. And these are a little bit better than your sources from the universities because, as you can see, they use a lot of pilot observations, like ACARs from these airplanes, and they add that in there. They also add satellite-based information. Well, that's probably airplane-derived, but there are satellite winds used frequently in these analyses. So this kind of gives us everything. And let's see, let me go down to 300 real quick. I think we can probably see that better there. since 200 is cutting into the stratosphere. And there we go. We can see minus 46 there at 300 millibars, and minus 46 at around Toronto. And that contrasts quite a bit from these mid-30s all around that upper level low. So this is helping to give us instability by shifting those lines at the top way over to the left. And that gives us a better cape. So what's going on elsewhere in the country? We always like to look at the streamline analysis. And this looks almost like what we had yesterday. Big low there over eastern Lake Superior. Very same picture. Front right there. And it looks like probably a little bit of cyclogenesis there in Colorado. That might be some lee side troughing there. And looks like a new front coming into the Pacific Northwest right there. So those are the main changes for today. Not really much. Still very warm out west. Lots of 90s in the San Joaquin Valley. And out here in the central U.S., lots of mid-60s and even a few 50s right there in Illinois. So it's starting to feel a lot like fall in some places. And we'll take a quick look out east. And there we can see cool conditions there also. You can see some evidence of a front down there in Virginia, because we go from these lower 60s in Pennsylvania all the way up to 80 degrees with south winds in South Carolina. So it's looking to me like that front may be possibly in this area. You can see a thunderstorm being reported at this one station. Don't know the name of that station, but that's probably associated with that front there. And they've got recent thunderstorms here at that one station there. Okay, so now that we've got a good handle on the surface analysis, we can look at some of the forecast products. And yeah, we should look at the NHC map here, and we've got Matthew. Finally got a tropical storm here that has come together. 55 knots there for that storm. Central pressure 1004. And there's the track right there. They're taking it pretty far south, and then you can see we've got some recurvature up to Cuba. But this is very uncertain. But we've seen the models be pretty consistent with taking this thing over Cuba, so it's starting to look more and more like that as time goes on. So that's going to be Monday when it crosses over Cuba. I think we may be able to pull up some Cuban radars. Believe it or not, you can get that off the internet, and we'll bring up some of those and check those out. So let's see. I was going to go into the forecast real quick. Let me get the map set up for you here. All right, so starting out over the next 24, 48 hours, you can see we've still got a ridge in the central U.S., so that's going to keep things continued cool across the central U.S. Looks like a storm coming together in the northeast here. Seeing some pressure falls in Ohio and West Virginia along that front that I showed you earlier. And then let's see here. By 72, 96 hours. Not a whole lot of change. We don't see that that low pressure area come together very well in Pennsylvania. We're kind of stuck with this cold core low out in Indiana and Ohio. So it looks like it's just going to be a very stagnant pattern out east. And not much going on out west either. I can see a low pressure area out here. This is going to be Monday, October 3rd. Looks like maybe a new front coming in from the Pacific. Get out to 144 hours. Looks like that system goes mostly north into the Dakotas. So then we got our cold front coming out in Kansas. And that's about it for the west. And let's check out the hurricane real quick. Let me back that up. GFS has that going over Cuba on Monday, kind of in line with what NHC has. Then they bring that up the East Coast during the week next week. So by Friday, by Thursday night or Friday, we're looking at that possibly just off the coast of Cape Cod there. But as we've seen, these forecasts do change from run to run. And let's take a look at the foreign forecast. We can get the ECMWF. This is the European model. Let me set this up where you can read the legend. Okay, so 120 hours out, you can see that hurricane coming around Jamaica. And then it tracks up pretty close with what the GFS had going north. The run is a little bit faster and a little bit more east than yesterday's ECMWF. And that carries the hurricane up through the Bahamas very slowly, though, kind of slows down there towards the end. And that keeps it pretty far off the east coast there. So, European model going a little bit further east with the track of that system. And just for the heck of it, we'll check out the Canadian model. Go up to our drop-down panel up here and go to CMC. There's the global model. And we'll pull up our classic maps. And let's see, we want to go out maybe 96 hours. 108 hours maybe. So there comes Mr. Hurricane there over Jamaica. 144 hours. Following more what the GFS has. So western Bahamas right there. Then by 180 hours, looks like it kind of slows down or off the California coast and recurves east. So we shall see what happens with this hurricane. Again, it's looking like Wednesday or Thursday by the time that's a threat to the northeast, and possibly Monday or Tuesday for Florida. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, 144 hours. That's going to be Monday or Tuesday. Okay, and one thing I really like about this panel here, this particular website, is it's very easy to read the thickness because it's in colored shades. As you can see here, it's showing thickness, and there it is right there on the right side. Let me stop for a second. They've got a field here for thickness and heights. So I'm carefully reading this. I'm trying to figure out which one is which here. I'm probably going to have to study this later tonight or tomorrow. Bring this into Paint Shop Pro because these are very hard to read here. One of these is thickness, one of them's height. And I don't want to go off, I don't want to start making presumptions when I could be mistaken one for the other. But I hope that shading there is thickness because that would make it very educational for these webcasts. And we can certainly check out another model. I mean, why not, since we've got a possible hurricane coming down the line here. Do we want the JMA? That's the Japanese model. They've certainly got a very powerful model there. Japan also runs this on a supercomputer cluster. Very good physics packages, and definitely worth checking out. And this is good. This is a good website. It's got all the frames out to 240 hours. So JMA, Japanese model, 120 hours out on Monday. Going slower with this hurricane. And it's tracking this more towards Florida. So JMA is going a little bit west with this. And their models actually have good handling of tropical storms because of the typhoon threat there. They're right in the middle of a recurvature area, so this definitely bears watching. So we're not completely out of the woods yet. So I think that's probably it for today. Let me check the chat and see how we're doing here. Okay, Mike says the color is thickness. That's definitely great news. Although at the top, let me see here. I can see a little dashed line right here, and then here I can see nothing, and that's heights. So I'm not totally sure which one is which, but we'll check this out. All right, I guess I am done for now. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you at the same time tomorrow. Have a good evening.